they're actually going to do. And however unpleasant it is to pay council tax, my view is that probably the best way forward is to take the cap off council tax and allow Surrey County Council and other councils in similar positions to actually plan their increases to cover their budget. We also had a meeting of the EM3 leaders, and we had a presentation from the Housing and Communities Agency, which set out the criteria for the new Housing Infrastructure Fund, which is a grant quite unusual in these days to be paid directly to local government and requires bids from local government. But as always with these issues, the time to put in your bid is incredibly short. There are two different pots. One is for small infrastructure grants of 10 million. I know it sounds 10 million, but in their view it is a small infrastructure grant. One is for small infrastructure grants, and that business case has to be in by the end of September, and that can be put in by any tier of local authority. So it could be put in by a borough council as well as the county councils. And the other pot is for major grants of up to 250 million for infrastructure issues which are attached to housing. And they would be looking at a lot of housing being delivered to actually sort of attract their attention for that bid. And it would have to be put in by an upper tier authority, the county council, or a group of councils working with the county council. And you're not talking about 200 houses or even 5,000 houses. You're talking more in the region of 10 to 15,000 houses to attract that sort of monies. But I have asked the chief executive to look particularly at the smaller fund, but to also look at the larger fund to see if there is any mileage in our ability to work with others, to see if we can actually attract some infrastructure that is actually needed in Surrey Heath. I don't know that we will have much luck with the larger fund, because I think the government has almost made up its mind which growth options it's going to actually fund with that. But it's just worth doing a bit of research to see. And the last meeting was the local government conference, and that was very, very interesting. I'll start with the good bit first. And you may not think this is a good bit, but believe me it is, that the star of the show was definitely Anne Widdecombe, who was she's very clever, very articulate, very funny, but with a deadpan face. So that actually makes it funnier when she actually tells her jokes. And she was talking about Brexit. And she actually made it clear to me for the first time, and it was quite good for her to spell it out. There is no such thing as hard Brexit or soft Brexit. There is only Brexit. And we either go through with Brexit or we don't. And this option of staying in the single market means it isn't Brexit as the Leave campaign voted for, because it would mean that you could not control your borders. And it's not about closing borders, it's about controlling borders. And staying in the single market or customs union means that you wouldn't be able to control that border. And it was such a good speech and so clever. Talked it over with the chief executive, and I shall be writing to Anne and ask if she would come and talk to one of our business breakfasts, because I think she would actually go down a real score if we could actually attract her. I'm not promising anything, but I'll write anyway. I can only ask. Now, the not so good bit was the speech by the Minister for Local Government, Sajid Javid. And it was a very, well, I've heard it described as forceful. It was quite an unfriendly speech towards local government, whom he blamed us for everything. And I think it was somewhat centred around Grenfell Towers, which I can understand the issues surrounding that, although I think there's been some knee-jerk reactions with that. And we need to wait to see what actually caused the terrible fire at that tower. But it was also not harangue, but almost harangue against local government for not providing housing and for not providing the housing to the numbers that the government believes we should be providing it. And we were warned that if we did not provide the housing, they would do it for us. And they would do it through several different means, and two of the means are forcing us into having local plan reviews every 5 years, which will be extremely costly, and putting forward more and more housing within those plans, changing the objectively assessed housing needs, so that for places like Surrey, you would find that that housing need is assessed at an even higher level than we have already. And we have quite a high level already. Not as high as some boroughs, but pretty high. And the other means, and I hear Sajid say, well, you must consult with your community. But are they going to listen to whatever comes back from the community? And I have to say, I think the answer is no. And we have to actually be challenging them around this. Because when we actually see what their government inspectors, the planning inspectorate is not an independent body, it is a government body which is deciding planning applications, and they're deciding it on a steer set by the government. And when we see what the government inspectors are deciding, both in the local plans and in individual planning applications, we see that they are not listening to the community. They are giving planning permissions right, left and centre. And we have seen at Waverley recently, they have considerably upped the amount of housing that Waverley has to take, despite the council and the residents of Waverley not wanting that. And the inspector, although it's gone to the Secretary of State, the inspector has quite clearly given his approval to Dunsfield to go ahead, despite local opposition. So to say, consult with your community, when we have seen in our own borough that the community's wishes with regard to the West End reserve sites have been ignored by inspectors, and they have given permission for that. And I was going to say to you tonight that the Heath Park Drive decision in Windlesham is expected tomorrow. And if that's allowed, it will be a complete nail in the coffin for any other big housing sites in Surrey Heath. A nail in the coffin for this myth that government is listening to what the community says. And I have to say, I've got it hot off the press tonight. Heath Park Drive has been announced. So I think that is probably the end of our ability to resist quite large housing sites. Fortunately, we didn't get costs awarded against us, but it has been announced.
Okay, I would like to note. We should have done this during my announcements. Members have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests to declare in relation to the matters which are to be considered in this meeting. On behalf of all members present, I would like to declare for the record that we have received approaches and have been lobbied relating to the Council's action on the petition in item 6. Are there any other declarations of interest? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to declare that I am a member of the Chobham Society. Reference item 6.
Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to declare that I am also a member of the Chobham Society and that I am also the Council's representative in the Fair Rates Consultative Committee after the change in this year, but I'm yet to attend a meeting there. I would also like to declare that my partner and one of my sons signed the petition that was raised by the Chobham Society.
Thank you. Any other declarations? No? Okay. Okay, item 6. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, honourable members. I'd just like to make a comment, if I may, regarding one of the emails that came through to us. I assume you've seen it from Mr. Douglas Mancini. I just would like to make it clear that Mr. Mancini is an acquaintance and has spoken to me about Ferox separately without other councillors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Right. Item number 6 is to receive and consider an e-petition organised by the Shopping Society. The speaker to the petition will be given 5 minutes to present the petition, and then members will be asked to debate the petition. The council will then decide how to respond to the petition. I would like to invite Mr. Darren Rees from the Shopping Society to come to the stand and to present the petition. I will advise you when you have 1 minute of your time.
Good evening. I'm Dan Rees, I'm from the Shopping Society. The Society petitions our Borough Council not to promote or support housing development of fair roads, but to retain it in the green belt. This includes committing to not making the second bit of the Fair Roads Garden Village. SHBC should instead encourage airport operations at fair roads with their associated local employment opportunities. It is widely felt that the Borough's Garden Village application was flawed, as contrary to guidelines it was done in secret without consultation with or support from the local community or its councillors. Airport viability. The bid was based on the borough's acceptance without verification of the owner's claim that flying is not viable. Fair Roads is a viable business with year-on-year growth, flying numbers and empty hangars being quickly filled. We see this airport facility and the 300 or so local jobs it provides as a valuable asset both for the borough and the local region. It also facilitated 152 life-saving emergency medical transport flights last year. Closure of the airport would send a message to the heads of international business community who are regular Fair Roads airport users that Surrey Heath is not open for business. Civil Aviation Authority figures show that Fair Roads is busier than Farnborough, Southend, Cambridge or Leeds, illustrating viability and Fair Roads' significance in a national context. The government's stated vision is that the UK is the best place in the world for general aviation, as a flourishing, wealth-generating and job-producing sector of the economy. Paper submitted to the Aviation Minister in May 2017 described the current list of airfields as the minimum viable strategic network. Clause 33 of the National Policy Framework Statement reads, when planning for ports, airports and airfields, plans should take account of their growth and role in serving business, leisure, training and emergency service needs. The 2012 local plan stated the Council's desire to see Fair Roads continue as an airfield. What has happened to cause the Council to abandon that view? Housing need. The Shopping Society recognises the need for housing, particularly social housing for local people, but this Garden Village proposal will only exacerbate local infrastructure problems and the asking prices are likely to be way out of reach of local young people. Public services. Residential developments at Fair Oaks will increase the strain on the too often gridlocked road network between the M3 and M25 on Woking, which are totally unsafe for cycling and include many rural lanes without footpaths. The current national shortage of both GPs and secondary school teachers is likely to mean that residents of any new development will struggle to have their health and educational needs met. Lack of secondary schools within walking or cycling distance and a complete absence of public transport will also further increase traffic. Environment. The wider Fair Road site has been protected from public access and largely unchanged for 80 years. No sand could duplicate this. Removing the green corridor between Chobham and Horsell's important SPAs is irresponsible, and the development would compromise the separation of Chobham and Ottershaw. Chobham in particular would lose its unique village identity. Public concern. 5,346 people signed this petition, including our local Conservative MP. An extraordinary level of support from both Surrey Heath and the wider area for the continuum of airport operations. To summarise, Fair Oaks is important locally as an employer and important regionally as a vital piece of the general aviation infrastructure as well as saving lives. The borough's application was secret, flawed and not supported. The borough has ignored national aviation policy and needs. The borough based its bid on flawed analysis of viability. The borough has failed to address the infrastructure issues or demonstrated that Fair Oaks is the best site for development within the borough. In response to the Children's Society petition, the Council should refer this issue to the relevant scrutiny committee for further and evidence-based debate. I look forward to a rigorous debate and answers to these questions raised. I urge the Council to commit to retaining this site in the Greenbelt, to not submitting or supporting any future Garden Village applications, and to encourage airport operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks. I'm going to say you may return to your seats in the public gallery, but you've already done that. Members, I now invite you to consider the requested action in the petition, namely to promote or support housing, to not promote or support housing development at Fair Oaks, but to retain it in the Greenbelt. In accordance with the petition scheme at Part 4 of the Constitution, the Council may decide to 1. Take the action the petition requests, not to take the action requested for reasons put forward in this debate, which we will see, or to commission further investigation into the matter, for example, by a relevant scrutiny committee. Now that's the 3 things only. I would now like to invite members to discuss the petition and the requested action, to make any comments. Rita.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'd like to thank the Speaker for setting out his very clear reasons for promoting the petition. And I do note the number of people who signed the petition, and I pay particular attention to those who live locally or who live in surrounding boroughs. I probably don't put quite so much credence on some of the other 3,000 signatures, one of which I believe came from the USA. And I have to say, I would put more credence and be more sympathetic towards those who are actually going to be impacted by the site, if or when a planning application actually comes forward. Because we have no planning application for this site at present. And when and if one does come forward, then it would come to a full council to sit as the planning authority. And therefore, as members, we do have to be careful about what we support tonight and what we actually say tonight, because the last thing I think any of us would want is that inadvertently we talk ourselves out of being able to take part in that full council, even when it arises, because of the rules with regard to predetermination. And they are very tricky rules, so we do have to be very, very careful about what we actually say. And a number of the issues that the Speaker talked about, and the issues that are actually in the petition itself, are in effect planning issues. Whether this is a right site to remain in the Greenbelt or not, whether the viability of the airport is correct or not, whether the infrastructure is right or not, whether the SANG is correct or not, and whether the housing is the right sort or not. These are all planning issues which would be dealt with in a planning application committee or in a full council sitting as a planning application committee. And they are not issues that we should be debating tonight, simply because there is not a planning application to debate, and we have not heard all the sides to this particular petition, or all the sides that might have different views to this particular petition. Those views will come out during any planning application, should it arise. And therefore, I think I would be proposing that we actually take note of the petition, we note the concerns of the local community, but we take no further action and await to see, and any discussion on these issues should take place as part of a planning application if it comes in, and I don't know whether it's coming in or not, or as part of the local plan review, because we are having to go through a local plan review at the moment, and it could be that some issues with regard to this site could come through that planning review, not from the council, because it's not only the council that can put forward sites in the local plan, it is also people outside, developers, promoters, applicants, people who would want to apply for planning permission on their land. So it is quite possible this site could come through the local plan review as well. So for all those reasons, we should be very careful about making our minds up tonight about these particular issues. And unfortunately, the way the petition is actually phrased, if you supported the petition tonight, you would be supporting the fact that there is to be no more housing, or no housing at all, at Fair Oaks Airport. If a planning application then came in, every single member who voted for that would have predetermined that application. And it's just as simple as that. And I'm sorry if people don't believe it, but those are the rules about predetermination. And they are very tricky rules. But every single democratic argument that has been made tonight will be made again if a planning application comes in. And if it doesn't, then it's not relevant anyway, because there will be no application to consider. And it is at that proper time and at the appropriate time that all these issues should be being discussed. And just to make it quite clear, the viability issue is a planning issue. It's not for the council to show that that airport is viable or not. It is not for the council to show whether that airport is viable or not. It is for the council to decide on the arguments from all sides whether one or other has proved whether it is viable or not, which is quite different. It is for the applicant or those who are to prove that it is not viable, or it is for the objectors, if a planning application comes in, to show that it is viable. And it is for the council, sitting as a planning authority, to decide which side of that argument has the best evidence to support it. But again, that would take place during a planning applications hearing of the full council. And members, the other issue is that about not applying for another Garden Village bid. Well, there is no second round of the Garden Village bid at the moment, so there will be no application by the council for a second Garden Village bid at the present time. I'm not sure there is going to be a second round. I have a feeling that that the government is going a different route, and that was a feeling that we got from Sergeant Jarvin's speech at conference. So we are not committing to a second round because we don't know whether there's going to be one or not. But having what I said earlier, it would be entirely wrong for us to tie the hands of this council or any future council never to apply for a bid around a particular site that might be helpful to infrastructure improvements around that site or more widely. And it would be totally wrong for us to decide tonight that a particular site could never come forward for development. You've heard what has been said, you've heard what I said about the pressure on us from government to provide more and more houses. No council can afford to rule out a site without going through the proper planning process and taking on board all the evidence. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you might decide any site is not suitable for development, but it has to go through that process. And it would be wrong for us tonight to decide to preempt that process and to tie the council's hands or a future council. And therefore, that reason, I'm proposing that we take no further action, but we note the petition and we note the concerns of the local area.
Thank you, Leader. Before I ask if you have a members, you now have a motion that can be debated. Does anybody like to speak? Councillor Bates.
I'm actually going to allow the local member first, but I would like to speak on that.
Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just before I go forward, I would like to just touch on the number of people that are actually affected by the potential closure of this airport and the comments that were made by the Leader of the Council. It is by the very nature of its current operations an airport, and therefore people that don't live directly in the borough are still likely to be affected by it. So I certainly feel that the signatures that were put forward on that petition shouldn't be discounted. I would also like to propose an alternative outcome to the motion that is suggested by the Leader for the following reasons. This is not, as she's rightly said, a planning application. This is a petition to us for us not to support the application for Fair Oaks to come forward as a garden village, and for us, in line with the policies that were laid out in the 2012 local plan, that we should be supporting this as an airport. My reasons for not wanting to support it are as follows. In order for it to come forward, certainly under current government guidelines, it has to be a freestanding settlement. Fair Oaks is less than 2.1 miles from the centre of Chobham, and even less to the village boundary. It is just 5.1 miles from the recently approved Longcross development, which is 3.6 miles from Chobham High Street. It cannot therefore be considered as reaching this criteria. The other criteria is that it should be local authority led. This area has not previously been evidenced as part of the growth ambitions for the council. It is in fact marked as an area of strategic employment, and the borough has repeatedly requested a strategy for growth or a master plan from the operators. An airport within this borough gives us the perfect opportunity to keep employment in the borough, particularly walkable employment, from the rural Chobham ward. It is the basics of economics, supply and demand. But with less local airports, we have the perfect opportunity to build a thriving destination of choice for business and leisure groups. The borough should be embracing the diversity of this ward and the unique opportunities for growth, and to remaining open for business, to pick up the comment that was made by the petitioner, that the thriving airport represents, and not to be seen as offering an olive branch of hope to developers and investors. Local leadership and community support. Strategies for community involvement must help ensure local support. This application has not yet overcome the objections of local residents and is not supported by the vast majority of the residents that have contacted me and made their views known. Local demand. Our failure to meet our high housing target is largely due to the fact that Deep Cut is yet to build a single house. Has an asbestos assessment been undertaken by the developer in the Fair Oaks site to the satisfaction of the authority? Or do we risk closing or endorsing the closure of a thriving community hub for it to sit dormant for years to come? Infrastructure. We would like to, it says within the request for a garden village, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the development, we're talking about the request for a garden village, that the infrastructure needs are clearly assessed and met as part of any proposal. Infrastructure is one of the primary concerns of our local residents. The developer has not put forward an infrastructure plan that evidences that these needs are met. Chobham is regularly gridlocked. The pollution within the village with queuing traffic that currently builds is already a major concern of residents. And linking to the statement made by the Leader of the Council in her report, according to the WHO report, as early as 2005, they recognise that the need for further research, but current knowledge on the health effects of air pollution is sufficient for it to be strongly recommended that children's current exposure to air pollutants be reduced, particularly in regard to traffic-related pollutants. The experts who conducted that review consider that such reductions in air pollution levels will lead to considerable health benefits for children. On the basis of this information, residents feel that the application is in fact that there is no access to the site other than by car. The cumulative impact of the approved Longcross development on the local infrastructure needs, and a full and robust plan for the council should consider supporting this application on the basis of infrastructure. On the basis of this information, residents feel that the application is unlikely to succeed, and that as such, to utilise officers' time, which, if a full investigative, independent interrogation is undertaken, is likely to be excessive, would be a poor use of borough funds. I therefore propose that we support the petition of the Chobham Society, and that Surrey Heath does not support a further expression of interest from developers, and instead sticks to its published plan. Given the magnitude of this matter, I will also request that the vote is recorded, and hope that when the time comes, others will second me in this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I firstly thank Mr. Rees, the petitioner. I just think, regardless of whatever issue we have before us, it's incumbent on all of us as a council to make sure that we listen intently and act wisely. I think there have been a number of councils around the country who, for whatever reason, haven't done that, and this is clearly a very important local issue. It's not one that directly impacts on my ward at this stage, and therefore, to some degree, I suppose I speak as an interested observer, particularly for reasons which I'm going to touch on in a moment. I think it's really important that we understand that, certainly my reading of this petition is there's 3 separate sentences. And I'm going to take them all in turn. So the first sentence that we have here is, we petition Surrey Heath Borough Council not to promote or support housing development at Fair Oaks, but to retain it in the Greenbelt. Now that sentence I won't be able to support, and the reason for that is because of what the Leader of the Council has rightly said tonight. That aspect, that sentence, and that sentence alone, is something which will come forward as a planning application. I'm not going to talk tonight, because it would be wrong, to in any way give any comments regarding what may or may not happen with any future planning application at that site. For those of you who have contacted me, or attempted to do so by email, phone, or whatever, I'm not trying to be rude, all right? I haven't responded to you quite deliberately. I haven't had meetings with anyone, regardless of whether you've been in favour or against. I've made that very clear. And the reason is because I want, when the time comes, to make a decision on that based on the information at that time. So I hope people understand that. I know other members have contacted, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong in that, but just in my own views, I didn't want to do that. However, if we look at the other 2 sentences, I don't believe that the Leader of the Council is correct by what she said earlier in regard to in any way compromising a future application. The second sentence says, this includes committing to not making a second bid for a Fair Oaks garden village. Well, as she's rightly said just now, there isn't at any stage, there isn't at this stage any intention to have a second bid. And therefore, I can't understand why we couldn't at least say as a council that we will not put forward a bid at this stage. Now, it may be that at some stage in the future that we might want to reconsider that as a council. And if so, I would strongly suggest that is done by either full council or executive, because there were a number of very serious issues raised last time regarding who knew and who didn't. But let's leave that to one side. I would suggest that if a decision is made on that, that would need to be done by our executive or by our full council, and a separate decision should be made on that. That does not in any way, shape or form compromise any future application, which the applicant could make now if they so wanted to, and we would consider that as we would normally do. The third area is also not compromised. It says Surrey Heath Borough Council should instead encourage airport operations at Fair Oaks with their associated local employment opportunities. Now, I'm not here to judge, and I know it's a matter of considerable public debate as to whether or not the current operation is viable. That's not, I have no comment to make on that at all. But what I would say is it is incumbent on us at this stage, recognising that some other application may come forward. The current position is that there is an airport there, and we want to encourage business. Now again, if the applicant at some stage wishes to change that, change of use or put in housing, then again that's up to them. But the current situation is that of an airport. And as we have a business section, we should quite understandably at this stage be supporting that venture. That in no way, shape or form compromises any future application that the applicant may make. And for that reason, I would personally suggest that sentence 1 I wouldn't be able to support for the reasons given, but sentences 2 and 3 I would be personally happy. I'm not sure if anyone's willing to back this, but I personally would suggest that the council does not make a second bid at this stage, but that any future bid must be agreed by either the executive or full council, and that Surrey Heath Borough Council should encourage airport operations until such time as any planning application is submitted, in which case obviously at that stage that's a different argument and it would then have to be treated independently. I think that's actually responding positively to that, whilst recognising the integrity of any future planning application that might be made.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. Anybody else would like to comment? Lily, would you like to comment?
I hear what Councillor Bates says, and I have considered it, but I actually think it's probably a very messy way of dealing with the petition. And I've got to just point out that the main thrust of this petition is we petition Surrey Heath Borough Council not to promote or support housing development at Fairworks, but to retain it in the green belt. It then continues to say this includes. So everything else that follows it is actually covered by that first sentence. And I'm sorry, I will have to disagree on that. And therefore, I believe that if you can't actually separate them out. It may be that we would in future wish to encourage the airport if no planning application comes forward. But that is something that we would have to think about carefully, and I wouldn't like to commit ourselves to that tonight, simply because we are not in the business of running an airport, and it would probably be left to those owners who do know how to run an airport. And again, if we committed tonight not to make a second Darwin Village bid, then that would tie our hands for at least 6 months. And yes, I perfectly accept that if we decided to do so, that would need to come back to an executive. But at the moment, we have not made any decision, nor are we likely to make any decision to do that. But it is irresponsible of the council not to allow itself the ability to do so if it is right and appropriate in the circumstances. And my view is that actually that first sentence is the important one, which Councillor Bates quite rightly says. We cannot agree to tonight, but it is not separated it out. The rest of the petition actually is that first sentence encompasses the rest of the petition and stands on top of it. It's not to say that what has been said tonight has not been extremely helpful. It has. But the real issues that will need to be debated and discussed is, as I said before, at that planning applications committee, if a planning application comes in. So I'm afraid I would still stand by the motion that I put forward.
Would anybody else like to comment? Sorry, Councillor Tedder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm probably speaking out of turn, as I generally do. But if we as a council are putting forward and supporting an expression of interest, are we not telling the man on the Clapham omnibus that actually, it doesn't matter what they put forward, we will support it?
Right, thank you, members. Sorry, Councillor Bates.
Can I ask a procedural motion, actually? And that is that we take the question in parts. In terms of sentence 1, sentence 2 and sentence 3. I don't know if I have a second, or if I need a seconder for such a motion, but apparently I do have a seconder, and therefore I would like to...
Can I simply remind members of the process tonight? You have a motion on the table. That motion is very clear, and that motion has been proposed and seconded, and that is there. You know the only way in which that motion can now be dealt with is to be debated and to be decided unless the amendment rule applies. The amendment rule can't apply in this instance because what is being suggested negates the original intention of the motion that's currently on the table, and it also adds additional factors that were not there at the time. And one of the difficulties that we have, as you well know, when a petition goes out and members of the public are asked to sign that petition as it is stated, then obviously it is that petition alone and the wording of that petition that we have to deal with here tonight. And that's on the basis of the fact that it would be unfair to represent that petition tonight in any other way than those thousands of signatories have been asked to present their support to it. So as much as, I can understand where people want to get to with this, our procedural rules are very clear on this. And the petition was one sentence that included a number of factors. And so therefore, because we have a motion on the table, because that motion on the table is very clear, it's very difficult to use the amendment rules against it. And I think what you have to do is vote on it and then see where you get to. That would be my advice to the members. Do you wish to speak again?
I would, Madam Mayor, very quickly, if that's okay, but you're on your feet, so I didn't want to interrupt you. Yes, I can see how tempted you were by that. I understand what the Chief Executive is saying. I'm not sure I entirely agree, in the sense that I do accept that the wording of the petition is as it is here. But there is more than one aspect to this, and we as a council can choose what action we wish to take on it. Now, it's quite right that the leader of the council was clear in the sense of that she said, point 2, not to take the action requested for reasons put forward in the debate. Now, I understand that, and that's the bit that she has put forward. What I'm saying is that I think there's two aspects to this, and therefore I personally would wish to amend that, because I think there's probably clear agreement on much of it, and maybe one or two members are not, and then there's a separate argument to actually many of us agree with, but we, and it's even stated in the debate, but we appear to be needing to vote against that, and I don't think that is really where we as members want to be at least that's my reading of it. I may have misread that. So that's where I'm just trying to clarify that, to get to the point where we're trying to get what we wish to agree, rather than tied up in process. But I'll obviously be glad to by you, Madam Mayor.
Chief Executive. Thank you, Madam Mayor. What a lovely response. Look, I'm going to try and see within the rules of what I have in front of me, and as you well know, members, the rules are fairly tight. Look, there is another way in which you can have a look at this in terms of whether or not you want to amend it. And I'm bearing in mind what everybody's trying to achieve here. And bear in mind that's your opinion, Councillor Bates. It's not been tested with the rest of full council. Now, there is an approach that you can take with this, where with the approval of the proposer and the seconder, and general agreement of the full council, that they can decide that they will amend their original proposal. So what I can put to the floor, that is an option for you. And that's all I can do, I'm afraid. You are where you are, you have a debate, you have a proposal on the table, you cannot put another one on there until you've dealt with that one. So what is it I think you have to decide what it is you want to do.
Madam Mayor, as a proposer, I actually find that quite a difficult suggestion, to be honest, because to me this is one petition. And I reiterate again that the first sentence, the issue about the bids to the fair at Garden Village and the viability of the airport are included in that first sentence. It quite clearly says it. This includes. And once again, we are not voting against the petition. We are voting to take no further action on it, but to note it. And when and if a planning application comes in, all the arguments and all the issues that have been put forward tonight and will be put forward, no doubt, in the future, will form part of that further planning debate. And to me, I'm not rejecting the petition. I'm simply proposing that we take no further action on it and we wait to see when and if that planning application comes in, which would be the proper time to have a fuller debate on it. And I actually find it quite difficult to divide this up because it seems to me it's all part of one proposal that we don't proceed with any development on Fair Oaks for various reasons, and that we don't make another bid for it, which would actually, and as I say, we're not proposing to do so, but we shouldn't be tying our hands. So I'm afraid I can't see how this can be amended to actually give effect to my original proposal. And so I would just have to stick with my original proposal, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Councillor. Chief Executive. I always get the best jobs, don't I? Thank you very much. So you have it before you. We don't have a situation where we can deal with it with proposer and seconder agreeing to withdraw their motion. So you have a motion on the table. Members, it is now incumbent upon you to decide against that substantive motion. If anybody wants to be reminded as to what that motion is, perhaps a leader would like to state it again.
Madam Mayor, the proposal was that Council do not take the action requested for reasons put forward in the debate. And I think those have been put forward quite clearly. And no petition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to propose that, given the magnitude of this vote, that we have a recorded vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I've taken that point on board already. Councillor Wheeler, I assume you would want a recorded vote.
Do you have 10 people?
Do you have the appropriate members that are agreeing that?
You need 10 people.
No, you need 3. So I do believe I have 3 people. That's fine. Mr. Payne will call out your name and you are asked to indicate whether you are voting in favour or against the proposal or abstaining from voting. Clarification, the proposal is that we do not take the action requested for reasons put forward in the debate, but to note the petition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Dan Adams. In favour. Councillor David Allen. Against the proposal. Councillor Rodney Bates. Against. Councillor Richard Brooks. For. Councillor Nick Chambers. In favour. Councillor Ian Cullen. In favour. Councillor Paul Deach. In favour. Councillor Craig Fennell. In favour. Councillor Surinder Gandham. In favour. Councillor Moira Gibson.
In favour.
Councillor Edward Hawkins.
In favour.
Councillor Josephine Hawkins.
In favour.
Councillor Ruth Hutchinson.
Against.
Councillor Paul Ilnicki.
In favour.
Councillor David Lewis.
In favour.
Councillor Oliver Lewis.
In favour.
Councillor Jonathan Little.
In favour.
Councillor Katia Malkus Cooper.
In favour.
Councillor Bruce Mansell.
In favour.
Councillor Alan McClafferty.
In favour.
Councillor Charlotte Morley.
In favour.
Councillor Max Nelson.
In favour.
Councillor Adrian Page.
In favour.
Councillor Robin Perry.
In favour.
Councillor Chris Pitt.
Supportive, in favour.
Councillor Joanne Potter.
In favour.
Councillor Nick Price.
In favour.
Councillor Darryl Ratteram.
In favour.
Councillor Ian Sands.
In favour.
Councillor Pat Tedder.
Against.
Councillor Victoria Wheeler.
Against.
Councillor Valerie White.
In favour.
Councillor John Winterton.
In favour.
Okay, members, those in favour is 29, those against is 5. I declare that the motion is carried. I would also, at this moment, like to thank everybody for taking the time coming to this council meeting. You're very welcome to stay if you wish to take part or listen to the rest of the council meeting, but thank you once again for coming and